Hi guys, today we're going to look at Flutter as a possible career option for our students. Now what is Flutter, right? Flutter is a brand new programming language, and by brand new I mean a couple of years old, but it was designed by Google. So the whole point behind Flutter is to create a cross-platform coding language, right? So that generally how people learn how to code Android, and we have an Android coding course at Avodha as well. But the speciality with Flutter and the sort of negative with Android is if you want to code an application for Android mobile devices, what do you have to do? You have to learn the Android language. If you want to code an application for iOS devices, Apple car devices, you have to learn a language called Swift, SWIFT. You have to learn that language called Swift. But what the benefit that Flutter offers is that by learning Flutter, you guys can build one application using the Flutter programming language, and you can run that application both on Android as well as iOS. It is a revolutionary new technology which substantially brings down the software development cost, and that is why it's picking up. Now, what do I mean by software development cost, right? Imagine you're a software development company, imagine you're an IT outsourcing company, and you guys want to build mobile applications for a living. You want to do that, as professionally. So when clients are coming to you, right, the client might quote, let's say 10 lakh, 11 lakh, 12 lakh, 13 lakh, 15 lakh, that kind of a rate for starting. A rate will be that much for a mobile application. Now, as an IT company, right, you're looking at reducing costs, right? So is it, so there you have two options. Either you can hire an Android developer and a Swift developer for iOS and pay them both 1 lakh, 1.5 lakh, 2 lakh rupees salary, or you can hire one Flutter developer and give him 2 lakh rupees salary, so that it's a cost saving mechanism, which is why a lot of the IT outsourcing companies are now moving towards Flutter. There are some cases where the company or the client might come and say that no, we don't want Flutter, we want Android and Swift separately. But most of the companies, right, most of the clients that the companies are getting nowadays are all very flexible and they're really comfortable with Flutter, which is why Flutter is really taking off. Now, as a client, right, imagine you want to build an application and you're going to an IT outsourcing company. The IT outsourcing company will tell you can code it in Android and Swift and you can code it in Flutter, but coding in Flutter will be less expensive, it will be cheaper. So obviously as a client you are more inclined to code in Flutter, right? So that is why this particular area, this particular industry, because of all of these reasons combined, it's really taking off. Another huge advantage with Flutter is the UI and the UX part of it. Flutter is designed for attractive application design. The Flutter programming language itself is developed keeping in mind material design. Material design means creating applications that look good, feel good, and are easy to use. So Flutter as a programming language is often preferred to be able to build applications and websites that look good, feel good, and are easy to use. So that is why also people are moving and gravitating more and more towards Flutter. One another reason why Flutter is an amazing course for new students or new software developers is because Flutter as a course is relatively very new, or Flutter as an industry is relatively very new. So there's a lot of open ground, lot of open space for the industry. I'll give an example. If you try to be an Android developer and you're trying for a job as an Android developer, you have 10 to 15 years of people, in the past 10 years at least of experienced software developers and people who are in the industry and learning, and that talent pool is there. Because Flutter is a relatively new language, a lot of these veterans or people who are already there in the mobile development industry have not yet picked up Flutter. So if you're a new person and you're just trying to get into the mobile development industry, Flutter is a very amazing option for you. And if you have a student that really wants to get into the mobile development industry, Flutter is the best possible option. The last advantage of Flutter is for startups. So if you're a college student, or if you have a student who wants to get into mobile app development, then Flutter is a very good option if they want to launch a startup as well. Because if you're launching a startup, cost is very important, design is very important. It's very important to be able to keep the cost down and to build mobile applications at a very affordable rate. So if you're trying to pitch it to a student, if you're trying to explain it to a student who wants to start the business of their own, again Flutter is a go-to option, because most of the startups nowadays are using Flutter as a programming language for their mobile application development. So all in all, Flutter is an amazingly new language. The future would be Flutter, not the existing past. I mean, Android also has benefits, and Android's primary benefit is that it's a programming language of the past. It's a programming language that's been existed for many years, and it's at Avodha we teach both Flutter and Android. Flutter has its positives and some negatives. Android has positives, Android has some negatives, but these are both like complementary. So the positives that Flutter has is kind of like the negatives of Android, and the negatives that Android has is the positives of Flutter. So another example I could give you about a negative of learning the Flutter language is that because it's an upcoming industry, the existing legacy players, right? You look at legacy IT companies, big IT companies, legacy IT companies, they are all into Android, not Flutter actually, because Flutter is a new language. And these older IT companies, most of their revenue, most of their income is in maintaining applications that they built many years ago. So because of that, the older IT companies or the more established IT companies don't have a lot of openings for Flutter. They have a lot of openings for Android though. Similarly, startups and newer companies are the ones that look at Flutter. So Flutter is the programming language of the future, where Android is the programming language of the past, and it's still being used. So it's a very big discussion on whether or not Android is outdated yet. But I'll tell you more about that in the Android explanation lecture. So I hope you guys got an idea about Flutter though. So same logic, 3 months we have the rigorous online training with pre-recorded classes and live session in the evening, so that you guys can come and clear out your doubts. And you also have a 3-month paid or unpaid internship that you may get, that Avodha also offers. And through this particular thing, you will be able to you'll be able to make your skills better. You'll be able to create a better kind of a learning environment for the Flutter language. And a lot of our interns, they get placed, a lot of our Flutter interns, they get placed in exciting startups, because as I mentioned earlier on, Flutter is a programming language used widely by startups, and some startups have even recently gotten funding where we placed our students. So Flutter is a very interesting language. It's a very new youth kind of a thing. So I really hope if you guys are into that kind of a thing, if you guys are into a startup culture, if you guys are into low cost mobile app development, and if you're into applications that look and feel really good, then Flutter is your go-to course. I will see you folks in the next session of Android, where I'll be explaining exactly how Android is different from Flutter and has a different set of benefits, and at the same time does compete with Flutter when it comes to the job market. So thank you guys. Bye bye.